Good morning and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. We are going to take a look at some pitching for today, the 28th of April. It is Monday. We do have a 6-game main slate in front of us. Nothing too crazy. There's a 2-game early slate. I'm not really going to touch on that. Because there just really isn't many pitching options, obviously, for a 2-gamer. You just kind of play everybody or stack pitching in one game and just stack all the hitters in the other, whatever. I mean, that it's more like just game theory and stacking spots, especially in that 2-gamer. But we have 6 games. Kind of a favorite size slate for me. I think I prefer more like around the 8-game mark, but 6 games, definitely interesting enough. Weather-wise, don't really have anything to worry about. Some wind blowing in Colorado, so that's interesting. And obviously, it's the coolest game on the slate, so another interesting point. Wind blowing in Cincinnati, very slightly, but it's the warmest game on the slate. So, just a reminder, this is a first look at the pitching options on the slate. I do try to go more in depth for the members at DFS Army. Might do some discussion later today. I think we're debuting a live show at some point today as well. So be on the lookout for that. I will be looking at DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action is. If you do play on FanDuel, I would cut my pool in half. As you do not have to be as creative. Pricing isn't quite as tight. It allows you to get the stacks you want with an upper tier-ish pitcher on that particular slate. So with all that being said, let's jump into the first matchup here. The Yankees-Orioles. Not an exciting matchup from pitching standpoint, but the Orioles have been struggling mightily. I think that's going to bring Will Warren into play. Warren had a pretty strong spring. A lot of talk of him. Hasn't really translated to the regular season, which we see quite a bit. Some strong starts. I mean, he's 2 earned runs or less in 4 out of his 5 starts. The problem is the fantasy points just haven't been there. Whether it be walks or hits, not enough strikeouts, etc. Not picking up the win. That's obviously a big piece, especially if he's only scoring, 14 or so fantasy points without a win. That makes the win even more important for a guy like Will Warren. The Orioles themselves have struggled so much recently that I think Will Warren has to be in play. He is a minus 130 favorite. He's plus 180 to earn the W. K-prop of 4.5. It's basically a pick-em at that number. But obviously the worry is the fact that this game has a total of 9.5. Juice is on the under, but still it is a higher game total. And we do expect the Orioles offense to wake up at some point. I just don't know when. At this point, I'm probably done trying to predict when. I'll just kind of wait and see as far as their offense goes. So I think Will Warren has to be in play on this particular slate, kind of as a dart option in our pool. Let's take a look at our optimizer, see if we have any ownership projections at this point in the day yet. I'm not sure that we will, but let's take a gander anyways. No, it does not look like we have any ownership numbers yet. It is probably still a little too early for those numbers to populate. But I think Will Warren worth a sprinkle. Not somebody I need to rely heavily on. But if you told me he was in the winning lineup as the SP2, I would 100% believe you, to be honest. Jumping over to the St. Louis-Cincinnati matchup. We talked about the wind blowing in slightly, but it is warmer in Cincinnati than anywhere else. And we get a matchup of pitchers that aren't horrendous, but they aren't great either. Payante versus Martinez. Nick Martinez and the Reds are minus 120 favorites. Martinez is plus 165 during the W, while Payante is plus 210. Nick Martinez has one of the strongest outs prop on the slate at 17.5. Juice is on the under, but still he's one of 5 pitchers. 4 pitchers, 5 pitchers. My eyes aren't working. 4 pitchers with 17.5 as their outs prop. Again, a game total of 9.5, worrisome. K-prop 4.5. Basically a pick 'em. Payante's K-prop is 3.5 with juice on the over. Payante's outs prop is just 15.5. The reason I'm considering Payante is the fact that Cincinnati's coming out of a series in Coors. So, if you've been around DFS Army for years, we have talked about the fact that teams tend to struggle a game or two outside of Coors. They spent a few days at altitude playing in that ballpark. Pitches are a lot straighter, so to them, coming into a regular park, the pitches are going to move a lot more than they expect. Payante is an extreme ground ball guy, and I think that could play into his solid performance this evening with Cincinnati coming out of Coors. Obviously, I'm going to be utilizing Cincinnati bats, but I do think Payante is very interesting. He obviously has enough upside, 25 fantasy points against Philadelphia, but does obviously come with a low floor. He's not a huge K guy at all. So he does have to get some clean innings to help pay off for us this evening. Nick Martinez, a guy that flashes some ability still. 8 strikeouts against San Francisco, but he's given up 3 or more earned runs in 4 out of his 5 starts. That's obviously a worry. Obviously, in San Francisco, if he would have got the win, he would have scored 20 fantasy points. He has topped out at just 16 so far this season. Obviously a worry. 3 home runs allowed in 10 2/3 at home. Another worry as well. With that said, I do think that he's in play. His prop numbers are just better than Payante, so I have to kind of trust that. St. Louis started out this season not striking out at all. I would think that they've kind of fallen back more towards the middle of the pack. I don't have the official numbers here, but I do think that the St. Louis lineup overall is a little weaker. I kind of want to dig into Nick Martinez's splits a little bit more just to get an idea. But for now, both of these pitchers are going to make my pool. I do think I might like Will Warren a little bit more than each of them, though, as gross as that sounds. The Athletics and the Rangers. Game total of 9, juice on the over. The game's a pick 'em. Corbin plus 170 to earn the W. Sears plus 180. Both have K-props of 4.5 with juice on the under. I keep trying to make Sears a thing, and I don't know. The last 2 starts have obviously been better. Last start coming against this Texas squad does worry me. I do not like it when pitchers make back-to-back starts against the same team. The advantage goes to the opposing hitters in that scenario. His strongest start came against the weakest offense in baseball, or the second weakest. I'm not sure if Colorado is weaker than the White Sox or not. But still, his best performance came against that White Sox squad. Not something that I really love to see, to be honest. With that said, he has been much better on the road, and that is where he's at this evening. Sears' outs prop is at 17.5. It's basically a pick 'em, but it is still at 17.5. The one worry I have is it's the first guy I've written down all season where his earned runs allowed prop is at 3.5. Juice is on the under, but it's still the first one to post at 3.5. So that doesn't sound exciting at all to me. Patrick Corbin never sounds exciting to me either, but here we are. This particular slate. Again, his last start came against the Athletics. Not something I love to see. He gave up 2 solo home runs. It was pretty steady outside of that. Ks weren't there. Had an elite start against the Angels. Huge ground ball rate with some strikeouts. Showcasing what he's capable of doing. That start did come at home, which is where he's at this evening. I do think Patrick Corbin is in play, as gross as it feels. Outs prop is 16.5. It's basically a pick 'em at that number. But like I mentioned, he's plus 170 to earn the W, while Sears is plus 180. So I think we have to consider him, which feels gross. This is kind of a slate that just secondary pitching options just feel gross. Detroit, Houston. Obviously, the pitching matchup where we probably get the most exposure to. Houston, a minus 118 favorite. Game total in this one's 7.5 with juice on the over. Easily the lowest total on the slate. Flaherty's K-prop at 6.5, juice on the under. Blanco's 5.5 with juice on the over. Flaherty is plus 155 to earn the W, while Blanco is plus 225. I thought that plus 225 seemed pretty low considering Houston is favored. Flaherty's odds prop tops on the slate with they're tying Dustin May at 17.5 with juice on the over. Blanco's just at 15.5, and it's basically a pick'em. So you're looking at 2 full outs or more, 2 plus outs, I guess. Difference between Flaherty and Blanco. I think Blanco just is in play. 2 starts this year where we definitely wanted him. The issue is he got the win in both of those and still just barely got over the 20 fantasy point mark. His strikeout numbers have been all over the place. 3 games of 3 or less, but then a couple of 6+. That is kind of a worry. His fly balls have creeped up the last 2 starts, where he did a pretty decent job early on in the season. So that's something I'd have to look into to see if he's starting to pitch up in the zone more, or if, just he's leaving the ball off more often, when he's not trying to. But he does have 20+ in 2 out of his last 3 starts. K numbers, super strong at home, not giving up that many hits at home. This is where he's pitching this evening, so everything lines up for Blanco to be, one of the better pitchers, one of the highest owns on the particular slate. Flaherty, obviously, 4 out of the 5 starts with 2 earned or less, not more than 3 earned in any one start. 24+ in 3 out of his last 4. Mid-90s in pitch count. Obviously, I come from an old school where I wish these guys were going 110, 115 pitches, but it is what it is. The overall Houston lineup, pretty weak. I think Jordan could be starting to wake up a little bit. He's plus 330 to hit a home run this evening, but I do expect Flaherty to be one of the most popular pitchers on this slate. People are going to try to talk me into Bryce Elder today, and my answer to that is going to be no fucking way. Sorry for swearing, but why would I want to take... I don't play Bryce Elder when he's pitching anywhere else. Why would I play him in Coors? I don't care that it's the Rockies' offense. I will gladly pass on Bryce Elder. Feltner is probably the Rockies' real-life best pitcher at this point. Had a pretty strong start at home. In fact, his best start of the season came at home. Where if he would have got the win, he would have scored nearly 27 fantasy points. But with that said, I don't really have a desire to play Feltner. If you told me you were going to sprinkle him in just because it's Atlanta's first game in Coors, there's a big theory along with the first couple games outside of Coors. The first game in Coors, we can see some bats struggle a little bit as they get used to it. I do kind of subscribe to that, but I don't really want to rely on Feltner. Let's be honest. Last game on this particular slate, we get Dustin May versus Edward Cabrera. The Dodgers minus 285 favorites. Dustin May minus 110 to earn the W. 5.5 K prop is a pick'em. 17.5 outs prop with juice on the over. And the lowest earned runs prop at 1.5 on the slate. May probably going to be the chalkiest option even after letting us down against the Cubs. Just a great spot against weak offenses. He dominated Colorado earlier, or just 2 starts ago. Not a huge K guy generally, but 5+ Ks in 3 out of 4 starts. Definitely in play for us. Edward Cabrera, probably worth a sprinkle, but he's super volatile. Can kind of fall apart pretty quickly. Can start out really hot. Got a great arm. His K-prop's at 5.5, juices on the under, but he's plus 350 to earn the W. Outs prop of just 14.5, so worth a sprinkle. But there we have it. There's a first look at pitching on the slate for us. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc. I will put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's R-A-Z, for 10% off monthly. And as always, best of luck, everybody.